Hello, this is your favorite neighbor, Mud Monster Fred. We interviewed Amanda Williams, the creator of the Cleveland Traveler, and also she has an additional main blog that she talks about travel outside of Cleveland as well. Obviously, talking about travel may not be the most suitable subject given the coronavirus. However, life will eventually return to some form of normalcy, which will allow you guys to eventually enjoy the advice Amanda gives in terms of places to go to Cleveland, as well as places to go outside of Cleveland if you have the opportunity to do so. We hope you guys enjoy this podcast episode, and hopefully you'll take Amanda's advice once the whole coronavirus epidemic finally subsides. Thank you.
Coming to you from deep beneath the murky waters that lie beyond the Lake Erie shoreline. This is the Cleveland Podcast! With Fred the Mud Monster and South Bay Caesar. Find us online at facebook.com/The Cleveland Podcast or email us at theclevelandpodcast@gmail.com. Now, join us as we journey through Northeast Ohio and the city of Cleveland.
Hey, Fred!
Back in the library.
And for real this time.
Yeah.
Back in the Brecksville Library for the fourth time?
Yeah, fourth time. This is our third favorite location behind the Case Western spots.
This one's always available because it's not the ideal location. There's a quiet study room right next door to us.
Yeah, I paid $35 for an Uber just to get here.
Oh, man.
But then again, I get free lunch and dinner out of this, so because of someone who will come to get me.
Oh, nice.
You know, they're just gonna go because I'm their coach, and then they go, "Hey, do you want to get dinner? I'll pay for it as long as you coach me." I'm like, "Sure, I'll pay a meal for him one day, just not today."
I do appreciate the Brecksville Library letting us come here.
Indeed, but we also have a guest here today, Amanda Williams, travel blogger who runs a dangerous business travel blog and local blog, Cleveland Traveler.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good. It's sunny out today. That's good.
I know it's indeed quite lovely, although a little bit chilly. But
you know, I think I've lived in Cleveland too long because I walked outside today and I thought, wow, what a nice day.
Same.
I was in my shorts and a t-shirt and it didn't bother me at all because the sun was shining. And I'm like, it must be a really warm day today. But then I looked around and none of the snow had melted. There's still like a half a foot of snow on the ground. And then I turn on my car and there's the temperature gauge in there and it says 28 degrees. And I'm like, it's not warm at all.
You're like, but the sun, we never see the sun. So,
I mean, that's a totally different experience for me because my eyelashes partially froze today. So, and yes, mud monsters do have eyelashes.
Fred is a mud monster.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't look like a mud monster, but
Well, I
all right, I'll
appreciate
take
it.
your word for it.
I've been going on a cosmetic type of ordeal. I'm trying to shape up.
No more mud baths.
I look like one of those K-pop mud monsters, so I'll be like Mud BTS or something like that. But it was interesting. So you're talking about these two blogs. There's a post that you made recently about this one word that Caesar and I always have trouble with. Przinki?
Oh, the Polish donuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
believe.
it's Paczki.
Yeah, it's actually pronounced ponchki
Oh, Ponchki.
Yeah.
or punchki. It depends. I mean, we're probably actually butchering the real Polish pronunciation of it, but
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, my
punchki, somewhere in there is how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Approximate linguistic range.
Yes.
I've actually jumped online, and what the actual Polish people say is different than what the local Polish people say.
Right, exactly.
So I've heard punchki,
Right? And
and I've heard
close.
punchki,
Punchki, yeah.
and then there's a singular, or is it plural? That is different.
Oh, is that punch?
I think ponchki is plural.
Actually, I have it right here. A single, fat-packed Polish-style pastry is called a punchek.
Oh,
punchek.
yes, punchek.
Ooh, interesting.
So, singular, punchek. And so if you have multiple ones, it's a ponchki or punchki.
Well, that makes sense, given we have all these donuts. But then, have you traveled to Poland?
I have been to Poland, yes, but it was quite a few years ago when I was there.
That's same thing for me. I was 1 year old. I was a very tiny mud monster.
Yeah. For me, it was maybe 7-ish years ago. I was there.
Yeah, I got close to Poland a couple times, but we just didn't go over. But, at 1 year old, I remember there was this like lady that was checking. Well, I don't remember it. This is what my family says, though. That lady was checking us in, and then she was speaking in Polish. My reaction was curious about these sounds coming out of her mouth. I put my hand on her lips because it was on the counter. I like hushing her, just going, "What is that? What is that coming out of that mouth of yours? I don't get it." I guess that began my fascination with foreign languages. Always been fascinated by how things are pronounced. Like door. I've always had a whole thing about that. Door. Why is it door? I don't know. It's just one of those. You ever have those late night thoughts that are just so random and bizarre? You just go, why? And I've had that all the time. Door. What? Why is it? What? Just weird things.
I had never heard of Pączki or Pączki before I moved here. And I guess it's a lot of Polish immigrants.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland has a lot of Eastern European immigrant history. So Polish, Hungarian, Russian, Ukrainian, like they've all come to Cleveland. And Pączki, I want to say is kind of like Eastern European. I think you find it in more places than just Poland, but we consider it Polish. I mean, just like if you ask where do pierogi actually come from, I mean, almost every Eastern European country has something similar. They might not call them pierogi, but yeah.
Right. So then, obviously talking about the 2 blogs. So then what exactly is a dangerous travel blog?
Well, it's called A Dangerous Business. And
dangerous business travel blog.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So the name actually comes from a Tolkien quote because I'm a big Lord of the Rings nerd.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with traveling to dangerous places or doing dangerous things, even though people often tell me that I do just because they think traveling in general is dangerous.
Do you believe that it is?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's more dangerous like getting in your car to drive to the grocery store than to fly around the world. So.
It's true. Planes crash far less than cars.
It's very true. And you're much more likely to have something terrible happen to you at home rather than, people are always scared of like terrorism and kidnappings and all these things. And it's not actually that much of a risk.
I remember that Anthony Bourdain episode where he was in, I think, Colombia, and they had to rush him out of the country really fast. Do you remember that one?
No. I remember the one in Libya where there was artillery shells like a couple 100 yards ahead of him.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like, going to places that aren't war torn or places that aren't generally actually dangerous. I certainly wouldn't recommend anybody travel to like Syria right now.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's true. A fascinating country that I've always thought about going to is the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and that's super war torn. There's always like little factions everywhere. But I also learned recently that the Democratic Republic of the Congo has a whole like slew of Russian pilots from like the Soviet Union days who just carry packages around and fly all day. And you're just going, I just want to go just to see those guys and be like, so this is kind of interesting.
I know some people who have been there recently because they have a national park where they have some of Africa's mountain gorillas in the DRC. And so you can go. And that portion of the DRC is generally a little bit safer than the rest of it. But yeah, it's one of those things you gotta decide
be very careful.
what your risk level is.
It's like, do you like to live dangerously? It's quite the journey. So then talk about the blog itself, A Dangerous Business Travel Blog. I need to make sure I get the whole title right.
You can just call it A Dangerous Business. That's cool. Yeah, so it's a travel blog. Yeah, I'm a full-time travel blogger. And A Dangerous Business is my main website. So it actually just turned 10 about a month ago.
Oh.
So 10 years that I've been doing this. Started just as a hobby. Now it is my full-time job though. So yeah, I travel around the world and I write about it, basically just trying to help people plan similar trips to ones I've taken or introducing them to places that maybe they don't know about. And yeah, just kind of generally using my experience to give people travel tips.
So you said you've been to over 50 countries. Is that correct?
I think it's around 60, but
60 now?
I would have to, I I kind of keep track, but yeah.
So then
I don't know exactly.
So then you said you've been to 6 continents. Is it that correct?
Yes.
So then what are some of your favorites from each continent? Some of your favorite little
From
places?
Each continent.
Yeah.
Well, I usually tell people my favorite 2 countries are New Zealand and Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be Europe and Australia/Oceania. In Asia, I liked Vietnam a lot. North America, well, there's only a few.
Only a small smidget, including the one we're in.
Yeah. No, but I do really like traveling in the U.S. as well. So like the American Southwest is probably my favorite part of North America.
Mm-hmm.
And then South America, I've actually only been to Ecuador and Aruba, but I think Aruba is technically like Caribbean. But yeah. And I skipped Africa. Oh my gosh, like the biggest continent, pretty much. I've been to several countries in Africa, so it's hard to pick a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Botswana because they have the largest population of elephants in Africa. So that's awesome. And Morocco and Egypt are both really amazing if you love history and interesting culture.
Absolutely. I myself have been to Morocco and got sold a fake rock. True story.
Fake rock.
A fake rock. Well, it was more like a fake geode because you have those like.
Okay. I was like, a fake rock. How does that work?
You'd be surprised why I've been sold. I've been sold many things in my life. But I remember just walking through and they go, shiny rock. And I go, I'll take the shiny rock. And not realizing, hey, the crystals are probably fake. And so I got my hands on a fake geode, which actually has lasted all these years.
Yeah. How much did you pay for it?
Like €2, €3.
Oh.
It was all right then.
Yeah, it was only like $6.
I mean, it sounds like you got your money's worth, even if it was fake. It's still around today.
It's still around. I've bought things in my time that I regret, like buying a crystal skull. That was kind of my biggest regret, because even though that wasn't my money because I was 11, but still, it was just one of those things where you go, "Oh, the crystal skull," because I guess it was just my fascination with the 2012 stuff and how on the Mayan calendar, with the crystal skulls, there's like 12 of them, and then you're supposed to be end of the world. It's the end of the calendar, and so I thought I'd buy something that looked like it. And this thing doesn't even look like a skull. I thought it did. Because if you look at it abstractly, it looks like a skull. It's like a Salvador Dali type of skull, where it's just everything's in different proportions and just it kind of melts and loops.
Melting.
Yeah, it's surreal.
Unpopular opinion, I really like the fourth Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
See, that's why we're co-hosts. we think similarly. I still think it's not the worst out of the 4, but I do think it's still pretty solid.
I thought it was fine. I mean, it has to evolve. It can't be exactly the same.
Oh, sure. I get that. I think maybe the only negative part for me was Shia LaBeouf. Or Shia LaBeouf. I don't even know. But anyway, so then there's the second blog, which is the Cleveland Traveler, which is how we found you.
Yes.
So then this is talking about Cleveland itself.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I started that one about a year ago. So it just turned 1 in January. And yeah, it's all about Cleveland and Northeast Ohio. And eventually we'll be expanding to talk about, like day trips you can take from Cleveland or things that are easy to get to from this part of Ohio.
So then before we go back to the big international travel questions, of course, we are the Cleveland podcast. Therefore, we must talk about Cleveland things.
Right. It says on your website that unlike a lot of other travel bloggers, you have never been nomadic and that Ohio has always been the place that you consider home. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Why you love Cleveland so much and that you always come back?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up in Northeast Ohio. So I grew up in the Youngstown area.
Okay.
Technically North Lima, if anyone's heard of North Lima. Canfield-ish.
It's not north of Lima, is it?
And it is not. It's nowhere near Lima, Ohio.
Oh, yeah. You know Upper Sandusky and Sandusky?
I do, and they're nowhere near each other either.
Upper Sandusky is about 2 hours south of Sandusky.
Right. I went to school at Ohio Northern, so I know Lima and that part of Ohio too.
Ah, Lima.
Yes. But so I grew up in the Youngstown area and have always kind of been close to Northeast Ohio and Cleveland and all of that. And yeah, I mean, it is home. So that's why it feels like home, unsurprisingly. But I studied abroad in college. I lived in New Zealand for a semester, and I've always like dreamed of traveling. And now that I do travel so much, I love to travel, but I also really like being at home. So I tried the whole long-term digital nomad thing after I finished grad school. I decided I was going to go and travel for like 6 or 7 months all around the world. And after about 3 months, I was like, this is not for me. I
get that. Yeah.
It was really difficult. And this was back in 2013. So travel blogging was still new. Nobody was making a lot of money from it. So there was like so much hustle. So I was also trying to do freelance writing on the side and run a blog. And it was really stressful to try and travel on top of that. I'm also like the sort of traveler that I want to pack in as much as I possibly can. So when you're trying to do that and also trying to find time to write and pitch stories. And so, yeah, I've never done the whole live abroad indefinitely, homelessly. What does one of my friends call it? She says she's voluntarily homeless because she's always traveling.
For most of my life, I really didn't stay in the same place very long. And I think it's starting to wear on me.
Yeah.
It's every time you move somewhere else, you have to start over from scratch. Like it's good and bad because, I get to meet new people. It's so much fun.
Right.
And I'm forced to leave the house,
I mean, it can, for some people, they love it. They thrive on it. Like they never want to have a home base again, at least within like the travel world. But yeah, it wasn't a good fit for me. And I think it was a good thing because up until that point, I had always written about travel from the perspective of someone who had a full-time job. So I was trying to fit travel into, limited vacation time and that sort of thing. So the fact that I decided long-term travel just wasn't for me was actually good, I think, for my brand because I could still speak to the fact that, yes, I have a home base. I'm married. I have a car, like all these things that normal people tend to have and still writing about travel.
Which is good for blogging because you're relating to the people that you're writing to.
Exactly. Right. So I think it just makes it a little bit more authentic because, I'm writing for the people that are my target audience, but I'm also in that audience.
I'm definitely becoming more like that, though, because it's like I do want a home base. I can travel.
Yeah, I'm definitely, in terms of packing, I'm definitely the guy that just packs a bathing suit and I go, I'm ready to go. I just wash the same clothes. They're not going to know that you're wearing the same clothes over and over again. It's fine.
It's true. Yeah.
You just got to wash them.
Every time I think about buying a permanent residence, I think, it's going to be cold for the rest of my life.
I mean, all the same, it's going to be either too cold or hot for the rest of your life. And with global warming, it will just all be hot anyway.
Right?
True.
So I'm just saying, pack your bathing suits because Timberlands are going out of style because they're going to melt.
If somebody's traveling to Cleveland for a weekend, for a day or two, what would you recommend that they do?
In Cleveland?
In or around.
So I always recommend people check out some of our museums. So we have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which we're famous for. Also, the Cleveland Museum of Art is generally regarded as one of the best art museums in the United States, and it's free. So that's a bonus. And then there's just stuff like looking at the old architecture downtown is pretty cool. We have tons of craft breweries. I think there are over 35 in the greater Cleveland area right now. And then you've got obviously the Lake Erie shore up there. You can go hang out at Edgewater Park or if it's nice in the summer, get a kayak on the river or come down to Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which is less than an hour from downtown Cleveland, I think. And then if you're staying for longer, of course, then we have things like Cedar Point that's not that far away in Sandusky. So there's a lot to do.
What are some of your favorite breweries that you were talking about?
Yeah, I don't actually drink beer.
Oh.
Ooh, I know. To be fair, I don't drink much alcohol, period. But I, of course, have plenty of friends who do. So, I think Great Lakes Brewing is kind of like the original craft brewery in Cleveland. So that's always a favorite. They also just remodeled everything inside. So I hear it's quite nice now inside. And then we just have lots of like little kind of like local places too that are good. I know Platform just opened up it's called Funkin' Ship, and it's dedicated.
We got to be careful with that one.
Yeah, right?
We're going to be. That's slip of tongue. You're in trouble.
Well, after a few beers, I can't imagine that it's going to go smoothly.
But no, that one they're dedicated to just sours, which is interesting. I don't know if you like sour beer. So Yeah.
I'm not-
I mean, there's lots of options in Cleveland, and a lot of them are actually in Ohio City, the Ohio City neighborhood. So you could literally like just park up and brewery hop for like a day if you wanted to.
Well, yeah, the excellent day-long bar crawl. I'm definitely not much of a beer drinker myself, although everyone's very scared when I say, can I just get a shot? And they just go, 1, you're a mud monster. How's this going to affect you? 2, a shot midday? It's only 1. But, I don't get too many drinks either. When people say, oh, let's have a nice time, let's get a little bit buzzed, I go, my version of buzzed is almost dead for other people because it takes forever for me to get any type of stave inebriation. It takes. I remember the one time I got inebriated. It took, I think, almost 4 or 5 shots over the duration of over a short period of time with a bunch of ales and then the gin and tonic. And it wasn't even buzz. It was kind of like, hey, things are spinning. And at that point, I go, if I were paying for those things, which I didn't because I'm smart. No, I did pay for the tater tots, though. I paid for the tater tots. Yeah. And then other people are like, well, do you want it? And I'm like, sure, I'll take it. But I remember everything's like, yeah, this is kind of spinny. It's kind of boring. And I calculate the numbers. I'm going, $60? No, I'm not going to drink that much ever again. Yeah. $60 on a night out. I think I only paid for maybe half of that and probably less.
I save a lot of money by not drinking.
Yes. People go, how do you save up money in your bank account? Don't drink as much. Don't buy the most expensive car. Then all of a sudden you do wonders for your bank account and for your finances.
But yeah, you could do a lot of drinking in Cleveland.
Yes, and then you said some of the museums like the Cleveland Museum of Art.
Yeah. I mean, the Rock Hall is always good. The Cleveland Museum of Art, and then our Contemporary Art Museum is also free. And we've got a good natural history museum, and what else? We have some really weird museums in Cleveland too. Did you guys know we have a witchcraft museum?
Ooh, no.
Yeah. It's in Old Brooklyn. It's called the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic.
I guess it's where the cats go. Because they're naughty kitties living in the city.
That's from a past episode.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Witchcraft. I guess I would think it would be in Salem, Massachusetts, but apparently we have a local home here for Cleveland witches.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty fascinating. It's like the collection came from a guy who basically brought Wicca to the United States from England.
Okay, yeah.
So, Buckland, he's a pretty big name within the Wiccan community. So it's a pretty interesting spot. They have a really kind of extensive collection of just really random things, but it's fun. It's only, I think, like $7 to go and visit, and you can see everything in the collection. But yeah,
there's some interesting things happening in Old Brooklyn.
Yes.
Right now, I kind of was thinking about living there, and I'm kind of thinking probably not.
Well, I think it's probably going the way of Ohio City as being kind of like the new neighborhood,
right?
That a few years from now will probably be pretty expensive, but I don't know if you get it now,
right? And I think I've seen it go up as I've been looking over the last couple of years. For sure.
And I know like the Witchcraft Museum, I think they were originally located in Tremont, and then they moved to Old Brooklyn because the rents in Tremont were going up. So I think it's just all kind of.
There's like a new Guatemalan restaurant that just went in, and there's a couple of new coffee shops that have recently gone in, and I think an African restaurant. I can't remember which country specifically.
Oh, okay.
There's like 56 countries, Caesar. We might need to make sure we pick the right one.
That's why I just was very broad and general there.
Oh, yeah. I guess not to harp on it, but, it's like saying, let's just get American food. Everyone goes,
it's a hamburger and hot dog.
Right. Just kind of go like, it's like, does Africa really have like a continental? I guess they do. No, I don't know. Is this also different? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, is there an African continental dish? I guess not. I don't know. But
no, so much of their food is influenced by whatever country colonized them.
I was wondering that the other day. You guys should know, since you're both world travelers, it's like Chinese restaurants never open till like 11 a.m. So what do Chinese people eat for breakfast?
Rice.
Rice?
Rice.
Okay.
Is it? I think it's the same in China. I know in Japan they do a lot of soups for breakfast.
And fish.
China. I mean, I've been to China, but it's been a really long time. And obviously we were staying in like westernized hotels. So I don't think we got the full Chinese breakfast experience. But yeah, they tend to eat like rice and soups and noodles and veggies and basically everything we associate with like lunch foods.
On your travels,
It's pretty much lunch food for all 3 meals.
Yeah, for all the meals.
Except you get duck at the end if you can afford it. Which apparently duck is like here is expensive and foo-foo-y.
on all of your travels, what's some of the more interesting foods that you've seen or eaten or decided not to eat?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got plenty of that. But of course, our guest should mention it first.
Well, weird foods that I've seen in Cambodia, like deep fried tarantulas are a
Wow.
I've seen someone eat one of those.
yeah, same. I was not brave enough to try that. The weirdest thing I've actually eaten is probably I went to Greenland 2 years ago and I tried it was like a seal stew.
Oh, yeah.
It was strange. Yeah, it wasn't actually so much of a stew. I think it was labeled as like a seal soup. And it was like just chunks of seal meat in this like, I want to say it was like a barley based. It looked like oatmeal, like chunks of meat inside oatmeal. And it was the strangest thing. And it was disgusting. Like the only way I can describe seal meat is it tasted like fishy beef.
I actually would love that. I think that'd be lovely.
It had the consistency of beef, but it had definitely had like a fishy ocean taste.
I've never heard that description for anything. Fishy beef.
I've heard that before for certain things, but not for seal. I think the weirdest thing I've ever had was the brain of a goat. I've had that, and it was delicious. I had to get past the whole idea. I had to sit there 5 minutes, and the waiter goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, no. I just need to get past that. This is brain. It's like, oh, take your time. I get it.
Right.
And then I decided to chow down. But I've had some other weird stuff too. I've had crocodile. I've had as I say, Pooba on a stick.
Pooba?
Yeah, like the Lion King character.
Oh.
Or is it Puma? Is it Puma? Who's the boar in the Lion King? Pumbaa. Yeah, I've had Pumbaa
Because
on a stick.
Pumbaa is actually Swahili for warthog.
Yeah, I've had Pumbaa on a stick. Which
I've had Pumbaa as well.
Which
it's actually pretty. I mean, I had it. I think we had warthog steaks, which were actually pretty good.
Oh, interesting.
It tastes like pork chop.
Yeah, it is like that.
Yeah.
Ours were so filling. I had it on a stick, and just like a skewer, like a kebab. It was like a Pumbaa kebab. Pumbaa kebab.
Are there any movie characters that you haven't eaten?
Great question. No, that's actually a good question. Fictional or non-fictional? Because I've not eaten human.
In the last episode, he was talking about how he ate Rudolph in Finland.
I've eaten Rudolph too.
Yeah,
Rudolph's pretty delicious.
Rudolph is tasty. You gotta try it, Caesar. You must try it.
Rudolph and
Reindeer's
Pumbaa.
good. Elk is similar to reindeer, but also
Yeah.
very good.
I've not had elk yet, but maybe one day. Who knows? But I can't think of really. I mean, I've had other stuff. I've had shark, which is very illegal now, but it wasn't back then. I had shark fin soup, which is just salt. It's pure unadulterated salt.
What cartoon character would that be?
Bruce from Finding Nemo.
Hello.
I'm Bruce. But outside of the weird foods I guess we've consumed, I wanted to ask you this question about in all this travel within the United States, what do you think is a city or a region most similar to the place we are now, Cleveland?
Well, I think any of the former like Rust Belt cities are pretty similar in terms of, being built on a river and having a manufacturing history. I think you can probably look at Pittsburgh as being fairly similar, historically speaking, to Cleveland.
Right.
But I think that they're a little bit further along in their whole like revitalizing the city and, drawing more people in as tourists.
Yeah, when you have the Steelers, you can get more money.
It's interesting. I lived in Pittsburgh as well. And, it's called the Steel City, but there's actually a steel yard in downtown Cleveland.
Right. Yeah.
And a big one at that.
But like any of those cities that used to be, but it doesn't even have to be steel. I mean, if you look at Detroit had a similar history as Cleveland in the fact that like all their manufacturing dried up in the 80s and then the city went downhill and now they're kind of starting to climb back up from that. But I think, lots of Midwestern cities have had very similar stories. If you look at like Milwaukee and maybe Minneapolis, I don't know much about Minneapolis, but
other than the mall. Or is that St. Paul?
Yeah. Even in Ohio, Cincinnati is pretty similar. Cincinnati and Cleveland both at one point were two of the biggest cities in the United States, like back in the 1800s. So, yeah.
Then I guess expanding internationally, what international city or region was like Cleveland the most in your travels? Yeah, we don't ask easy questions here on this podcast.
I don't know. You didn't prep me for that one.
Are we supposed to prep?
Do you think Cleveland has like a sister city? Like,
of course they do.
Nashville is the Athens of the South.
I mean,
Nashville, and I've never been to Athens.
I don't think Nashville is anything like Athens.
Let me
just
tell you,
for the record,
every city
except
has
for the
an
Parthenon.
city.
Have you been to the Parthenon?
Yes, yes, there is the Parthenon, but
right. Other
everything
than
else,
that, right.
it's not similar at all.
I'm looking up the Cleveland sister cities right now. I know they have some.
Yeah, I know. I think one is in France. I think we have a sister city in France. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of like similarly sized cities to Cleveland, but I'm sure there would be cities that had very similar histories in like the UK and Germany in terms of like cities that used to be known for one thing, like maybe manufacturing or whatever, and then now suddenly have had to kind of reinvent themselves. I don't know that I can like name any off the top of my head at the moment, but yeah, I don't know. I think Cleveland's pretty special though, because we're in an interesting location and there's a lot of history here that people don't know about.
So I found the sister cities. This is according to clevelandfoundation.org. Okay. So you know this is legit when there's an org.
It's a .org, yeah.
Yeah, this is serious now. Cleveland sister cities include Alexandria, Egypt.
Not like Cleveland. I've been there.
Maybe a long time ago.
I mean, it is on the Mediterranean, so I guess if we're saying on a body of water.
Fair. Bahir Dar in Ethiopia.
Have not been there.
Bangalore, India. Bangalore.
Yeah, I don't think these are actually cities that are like Cleveland. These are just cities that have a political, like...
ties.
Or maybe not even ties, but just they're connected in some way.
Right, I'm going to get that right, though. And then, Beit Shean. We need, like, Lee in here so that way he can pronounce these in Hebrew. Beit Shean.
Where's that at?
Israel. And then Brasov, Romania, Bratislava, Slovakia. I've been there. Not much of a connection.
I could see that.
Same with Brasov. It's not really like Cleveland.
They probably have punchkis there.
They brought, but they probably call it something else.
I mean, no, Romania is not. I don't think they have similar pastries to Poland.
Oh.
Maybe though. I don't know. They don't have pierogi, so I mean.
Oh wow. Okay then. Then there's a Cleveland United Kingdom. They are connected to Cleveland.
Really?
And then there's other ones too, but the last one that is on the Google is Conakry, Guinea. So those are some of our sister cities. Not all of them, but clearly we all have disputes, particularly of Bangalore, because that's kind of a much bigger city than Cleveland.
A little bit.
But somehow we are sister cities with one of the largest cities on the planet. So shout out to Bangalore. You guys are the best. All right, let us take a break, and then we'll come back with some more Cleveland blog stuff.
All right.
And now, a postmodern interpretation by Fred, the avant-garde artist. Podcast, Facebook, theclevelandpodcast.com, Spotify, Apple Music. Check it out. The Cleveland Podcast.
We are back in the library.
Very quiet. Very secretive.
There's no secret doors in this one.
I know.
Our last episode was like a Scooby-Doo episode. We were in a library, and the guy said, look over there. And some of the books are actually a secret door.
What? Where is this?
The Western Reserve Historical Society, one of the museums we should have mentioned when talking about favorite
Yes.
places to go.
Well, okay. On my list, there's a different question about museums where I had more listed, including Cleveland History Center.
There we go.
The books just opened up, and it was a door.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's like dream house for me.
I know,
I
right?
want to have a study with like a secret door.
I was hoping they had a trap door, too. I'd be like, Fred, could you move a little bit to the left?
How many steps?
One more.
Trap door. It'd be like, excellent, Smithers. It's done. Fred is now in the trap. We are back here with Amanda Williams, who runs a dangerous business travel blog and local blog, Cleveland Traveler. I thought I'd just do the intro twice.
Why not?
You're from Twinsburg, correct?
Yes. I live there now. Yes.
I live there now. Caesar has a couple of questions about Twinsburg.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I was lazy in our previous episode, the one with Nate and Jake, and I kind of gave a half history of Twinsburg, and it was not very thorough. So,
Okay.
a pair of identical twins named Moses and Aaron Wilcox from Killingsworth, Connecticut, purchased some 4,000 acres of land in 1819. They sold tracts at low prices to attract other settlers. The Wilcox twins offered 6 acres of land for a public square and $20 to support a school on condition that the community would change its name from Millsville to Twinsburg. Their wives were sisters, which is steamy.
Oh, no.
Were they twin sisters?
I don't know. It doesn't say that.
This is all starring. There's a certain intro playing in my head. This is not good.
They died the same day of the same disease.
Really?
They are buried together in the Locust Grove Cemetery in Twinsburg. And this is from Wikipedia.
You know that John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died the same day, too? Just fun fact. Two presidents died on the same day. And then I think it was both of them referred to the other like, tell them that I'm dead, pretty much. Because they kind of hate each other, but also were besties. It was like frenemies.
Kind of like how, like the presidents today, like after they're done being presidents, they go hang out at baseball games together.
Pretty much.
It's like, wait, didn't you guys just like fight for the last 16 years?
Exactly.
And now you're watching baseball together?
Yeah, I know. It's strange. But it was all so bizarre to see. I can't remember exactly who died first. But the point is they both referred to each other as the last words before they died. And I thought that is so poetic.
Yeah.
That these two would know. It's like, hey, you're dying, I'm dying. We might as well just say good luck.
It's like those old couples that die on the same day.
Yeah, I've read a story about how a couple died at the same time. That was more tragic than anything else.
Is it tragic? I thought that was supposed to be like sweet. Or unless it's like when they're like 23.
I mean, to me,
I
that's
think
all.
it probably depends on the method of death, right?
Right.
If a couple dies in like a car crash at 24, maybe not sweet.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it's kind of bizarre to just see a couple die simultaneously. I just think that's quite sad.
I think the romantic sentiment is supposed to be that I couldn't live without her. So
I'm sorry, but I want to live longer.
so I went to be with her.
Call me selfish, which I am in this
the
case.
afterlife.
I want to then when I die and go to the afterlife, I could be like, honey, you won't believe what happened afterwards. And she goes, really?
There was this redhead.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was bad. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, you won't believe it. I did sky jumping. What? Yeah, you won't believe it. My fear of jumping, I got over it.
That's how I died.
Because I think once you die together, you wouldn't be kind of boring because you go, so what are we going to do now? I already know everything about you. And now we got to do this for the rest of eternity. I'd rather have a couple of extra things. So that would be like, I have a report for you, honey.
Are you still married in the afterlife?
If according to the good place, you are.
Till death do us part.
No, according to Good Place, you're not, right?
No, you have
Meet
your
your soulmate in the afterlife.
That's true. Shout out to Kristen Bell. She was quite funny in that role. And I can't remember the other guy's name.
Which one?
The soulmate.
His character was Chidi.
Yeah, Chidi.
But I don't remember the
I don't want to be like,
name.
yeah, Chidi.
I want to say his last name is Jackson. Maybe?
Yeah, something Jackson.
Oh, I was watching a movie earlier this week. This guy was having troubles with his fantasy football team. It was this Liam Neeson movie.
Oh, yeah.
Cold Pursuit or something like that. Mm-hmm. And the guy asked this kid, "You're a genius, kid. Why am I doing so badly on my fantasy football team?" And he says, "You've got 4 Browns on there." He goes, "I'm from Cleveland. I'm loyal."
Yeah, just like you, Caesar, with 4 quarterbacks on your fantasy football team.
Hey, I was in the playoffs.
I know you're in the championship, which really bugged me. You got a D+ on your draft evaluation. I got an A-, and somehow I only got midway in the standings. That's after an impressive 3-game winning streak. I was terrible this year. But next year, I'm going to be totally different. And I'll be going from Fred the Mud Monster to Fred the ultimate conqueror of fantasy football. But going back to this traveling in general, what's your favorite mode of transportation when you're traveling? In your personal taste.
I really like trains.
Why trains?
I don't know. It doesn't take any effort like driving a car. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody who actually enjoys plane travel anymore when you're so packed in these days. And I hate airports. So trains are like kind of in between where you can like enjoy the countryside going by. It's a longer ride. Sometimes we'll be able to get some work done on a train.
Right.
I really like trains. I wish we had a better train travel system in the U.S.
So then what's your favorite, I guess, out-of-country train experience?
I don't know. I mean, I've taken a lot of trains in Europe to get around. I feel like the route I've done the most is probably between London and Edinburgh.
Okay.
I've done that quite a few times. It's a nice ride.
Yeah, I love Edinburgh. I was like 8 years old, and I swung a little foam shield around, and all the Scottish people, "Oh, look at the wee lad. Such a cute fella."
Yeah, Edinburgh is awesome. I love it.
And so then, actually, I want to talk a little more about Scotland too. So you said that you really can think of any similarities between like one international location and Cleveland itself. Is there anything in Scotland that really reminded you of home?
I don't know. I mean, Scottish people are very nice, and I feel like Midwesterners and Clevelanders are known for being pretty nice people. So maybe culturally there's some similarities, but like landscape wise, no. I think the Scottish Highlands kind of have Cleveland beat a little bit.
Just a tiny bit. I thought a big similarity was this fascination with meats. Because in Scotland, I think you have a lot of meat dishes, and Cleveland's got a huge obsession with meats.
I mean, that's true, but I don't know if we're talking about meat obsessions. I would think Spain would be.
That's true.
Their jamon. Yeah, they
which
really
jamon?
love their meat. It doesn't matter, does it?
I mean, well, yes, but you got the Iberian, you got the.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's the whole peninsula, though. You got like the other different versions, like the black ham. That's I think found in Barcelona, like around there.
What's the meat that everybody's so obsessed with here? Slimans.
Yeah, they do.
What is that?
It's corned beef.
Corned beef, yeah.
Yeah, it's Slimans. But I mean, yeah, I feel like a lot of Cleveland chefs are all about the meat.
That's right, because the Cleveland's phrase should be "We are the meats," kind of like Arby's.
Yeah,
that
Darth Vader.
Yeah, right. That's
Why is Darth Vader so obsessed with meat?
I don't even know.
So obsessed with Arby's.
So then going a little bit into the kind of like the origins of the blogs. So then obviously you said that you obviously went to college and then you went through grad school. And then you said you had this kind of, and you lived abroad. And I think that's where this whole idea started, was when when you were abroad in New Zealand.
Sort of. I've always really loved to write, so I feel like I've had some sort of blog since I was in like middle school, probably. And when I was living in New Zealand, I did have a blog back in like the live journal days.
Oh wow!
Just writing about like what I was doing in New Zealand, because this was also like really before cell phones, and like
right.
I wasn't able to talk to my parents or grandparents or anybody very often, so I would kind of update this blog and just post photos and stuff. But I actually started my first site after college. I went and worked for a couple years at a newspaper. So I have a journalism degree.
Right.
And I was a copy and layout editor. So that meant I was editing stories, writing headlines, and designing the newspaper pages, but not doing any writing.
Right.
So I started the blog, honestly, because number one, I missed writing. And number two, I would get really bored at work.
Oh, there we go.
As an editor, you often have to wait until stories are actually written, obviously, before you can edit them. And so there would just be some days where you'd have hours where there wasn't that much to do. So I was like, you know what? I think I'll start a blog. And I did settle on a travel blog because I had traveled so much in New Zealand and a couple other places. So that's kind of where it started. And then I went back to school to get my master's, maybe 2 years after, or a year and a half after I started the blog.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So then what was the master's in? Also in journalism? Or?
No, it was actually in tourism management.
Tourism management.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So by that point, I kind of knew I liked this whole travel and tourism thing.
Right.
But that was also 2010, 2011, when, again, people weren't really making money from websites. Instagram influencers didn't exist. Instagram didn't exist. Pinterest didn't exist.
I remember those days.
Right? All these things that we're used to now weren't a thing. So I kind of thought, well, if I want to get into travel and tourism, I'm going to actually have to get a degree in it. So I got my master's. But then after that decided maybe I'll try and make this blogging thing work.
Is that how you've turned this into a profession?
Yeah.
Through the money that you make online? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep.
So then actually a great question would then be, if you are a travel blogger, where do you get most of the monies, if you don't mind?
It's the number one question people ask me. No, I don't mind. In fact, I have a whole post on my blog about how I make money because people
check
ask
that out
all the time. No, so mostly it's through display advertising and affiliate marketing. Those are my top two. So display ads are obviously just impression based. The more people that read my site, the more I make money through ads. And then affiliate marketing is when I'm recommending maybe a tour or a hotel or something like that. And then people book through my link and I get a commission and that sort of thing. So those would be top two. And then after that, it's just a whole bunch of different things. Sometimes I will work with destinations or companies to do paid marketing campaigns with them and that sort of thing. So
I wish I got affiliate money for all the people I recommend to Toastmasters. I'd be making more than a full-time income. I'd be making a killing. I'd buy me a mansion.
How often do you travel?
So last year I actually calculated it out. I was traveling 44% of the year last year.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Which was more than I feel is probably usual. I'd say maybe a third of the year is normal.
Okay.
And was that international or?
It was a mix of international and domestic within the U.S.
And when you travel, you're not on vacation or are you?
No.
Is it okay?
I don't know the last time I took a vacation.
Well, you are traveling around the world.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things though that I love it so much that I don't feel like I need to take a break from it.
Sure.
And the couple times where I have been maybe I'll try not to do so much work, and I might not actually be actively working. I won't be writing blog posts or whatever, if I'm on a week-long vacation with my husband, but I'll be taking photos and I'll be doing Instagram stories and posting on Facebook and all these things, not because I have to, but just because I enjoy it. And I feel I don't know, it feels really good to inspire other people to go explore places that I've been. So yeah.
Yeah. Be the next Rick Steves. Is that someone?
Rick Steves. Yeah, Rick Steves is awesome.
So then that's actually leads to my next question. Who did you have anyone who inspired you in terms of your writing style or travel blog idea? Was it Rick Steves?
No, actually, I don't even think I knew about Rick Steves when I started travel blogging. Growing up, my family, we didn't travel a lot. We'd do the kind of one family vacation a year, but it would either be to Cedar Point or Florida. We didn't really go abroad, so there was no background of travel. So I'm not exactly sure what prompted me to want to travel a lot, but I did, obviously. And no, I mean, I feel my voice is just, I write very similarly to how I speak. So it's very conversational, very much it's just a friend giving you travel advice. And I think people respond to that pretty well. But yeah, I don't think I didn't when I first started the blog, I don't even think I read any other travel blogs. There were maybe like a couple. And then maybe about 6 months in, I kind of realized like, oh, hey, there's this whole community of people that are doing this same thing. And then I started kind of connecting with others. But they were just other bloggers. They weren't necessarily like Rick Steves or Samantha Brown or any of those people. Although I love them. Like I love all those Travel Channel personalities.
Yeah, that book was used a lot with my family. Rick Steves, you flipping through the pages like, where do you recommend now? Where do you want to go now? And my family was obsessed with travel too. But we would save money. We didn't really spend much on other things, but we'd save up in order to travel.
That's awesome.
And so we would spend like a good 2 or 3 weeks in a location. And I did the math, and I realized I spent like over almost a year and a half of my life outside of my my home city when I was growing up. And now it's in terms of vacation, I go, what vacation? But I appreciate everything I do, and I feel like I'm living my vacation just by living my life. So, life is good, even with the stresses, And then I guess another question that came into mind is how did you grow this blog? Because I was checking recently, I was like, wow, this like a lot of people just want to hear about travel, and Cleveland itself. So then I'm curious, how did you get people to go, hey, in particular, follow me as this travel person?
Well, so for my main site, A Dangerous Business, I think a lot of it's just that it's been around for 10 years. So when I started it, there wasn't as much kind of competition as there is now. And,
sure.
And also, like I was saying, this was before Instagram and before a lot of these social networks and things like that. And then once they did start, it was much easier to grow a following in like the early days. So I think some of it was just luck of starting at the right time. But again, I think a lot of it is just putting info out there that people are looking for. So I do on both blogs, I focus a lot on SEO, so like search engine optimization and making sure that what I'm writing is stuff that people are actually going to find useful and that is going to be able to rank in Google and all the like technical stuff that's not sexy at all, but is like really important for growing a website.
Absolutely.
We should probably get better at that.
We should, but
I'm putting you up to it because it's so boring.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I've actually been doing a lot of research on that. That I don't mind.
I put an order in for some pens.
I'm sorry to tell you, but that is not SEO.
Right, not. That's a PEO. But then again, I guess we've not even been out a year. We just wanted to figure it out. Now we're getting comfortable with our own podcasting skills. Now we can do the SEO stuff. But before, everyone go, who are these two morons?
Yeah, when we started out, we were just two idiots.
And now we're cleaner.
Now we're two idiots with guests.
But good guests who make us look smart. And that's why it's good for the SEO now. Because when we have people like Amanda and the Western Reserve Historical Society and the Christmas Story House, we can suddenly go, hey, we're not very smart. We're not really the most amusing people, but these people are.
But we meet smart people.
We do meet smart people. We meet very intelligent people. Yeah, you're talking to two guys who just kind of went through college going like, oh, this is cool. That's kind of like how we just approach life. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
I have a question. You said you're married, right?
Yes.
Does your husband go with you on these trips?
Not all of them.
Yeah.
He works kind of a normal corporate job. He does have more vacation time than the average American gets. So we usually try and do at least one like big trip a year that might be like 10 days to 2 weeks, and then some shorter ones here and there. And depending on like how much vacation time he saves up, kind of decides where we go. But yeah, so he'll come with me sometimes, but often I go by myself, or more recently, now that like my parents are retired, I've been taking them on trips. Sometimes I'll travel with other friends that I've met through blogging and traveling and that sort of thing. So it's a mixture now. When I first started, I did a lot of solo travel.
He must be very understanding then.
He's super supportive.
Yeah,
like,
that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But it's funny because when we met, I met him when I was in grad school. But I think I mentioned before I was planning this big round the world trip.
Right.
Oh.
And I met him like a couple months before I was supposed to go on that. So I was like, listen, this isn't going anywhere. Like, I'm leaving the country for like a really long time. And it ended up working out. So he's super supportive and is always, cool with me going off on my own. I invite him on a lot more trips than he's actually able to go on or willing to go on.
What's the saying? Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, he jokes all the time. He's like, yeah, when she starts getting annoyed with me, she leaves for a couple weeks.
I was gonna say that. I'm thinking like he probably thinks like, hey, like a week, that's good. I get to.
No, I mean it works for us, and not to say that it would work for everybody. But for us, we make it work. And
I knew a relationship
really
that fell apart because of that. Not because the person was a travel blogger per se, but they did travel a lot.
Right.
And I think we've all know people who, families that travel so much that, one person kind of stays at home and then all of a sudden or at least stays at home for work. And then all of a sudden you have the stress between the two because one, you're not really seeing your significant other. Right. And then two, God knows what that other person is doing. If there's tension and
and there has to be a lot of like trust in that relationship too when you're apart so much and
absolutely.
But it works for us and it does help that this is also my job. I'm not just traveling for fun and the fact that I'm making a nice amount of money and it works.
That's the most important part, money.
I'm kind of an introvert and I like my free time and I'm a busy person anyway. So anytime I'm in a relationship and somebody's like, hey, I got to cancel our plans tonight.
You're secretly like, yes.
Hey, I'm an extrovert and I still say yes because I'm going, I could do other stuff now.
No, I'm pretty introverted too. And actually a lot of travel bloggers are very introverted.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah. And it's very easy to just like look at a website and social accounts and be like, oh my gosh, this person's so outgoing and extroverted. But in reality, a lot of us are very, very introverted.
It's like, get away from me. I don't want to talk.
But I guess in a way it's good because a lot of what I do is very solitary.
Yeah, right. Because you're running your own business.
Well, and it's like I'm working from home or I'm working from wherever I'm traveling, and it's just me. I mean, I do have some people who help me out. Like I have a virtual assistant and that sort of thing. But like I'm not in like an office setting. I don't have work friends, or the work friends I have are just internet friends that I talk to on Facebook Messenger every once in a while. So it can be a very solitary type of existence. So it helps, I think, that I'm introverted and I don't need the like social connections that very extroverted people need.
Yes.
I used to be a musician and one of my roommates was the drummer for Big and Rich. Have you ever heard of that band?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, and he would tell me stories on the road, and I suppose, like in your case, it's a lot different. But he'd be sleeping underneath a bunk bed of somebody else, and he's probably like 2 feet below somebody else's butt. Yeah. And anything can happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's,
when I first started traveling, I stayed in a lot of hostels. So I get it.
And that always sounded so exhausting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But you've got to this different level where you're living a little bit better then, huh?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I don't have to stay in the hostels and
because it's now Airbnbs. And hotels. Yeah. So but it's also interesting as you get older, like your travel style, I think just naturally changes. Like when I was in my 20s, I was happy to not spend any money and stay in hostels and take overnight buses and all this stuff. And now I'm just like, no, thank you. I'm in my early to mid 20s and I don't like overnight buses because I've taken maybe one too many of those in my day.
Well, I feel like when you're really trying to spend like the least amount of money possible, and, it's like a college kid or near there. Yeah, you're willing to sacrifice a lot more. Where now I'm in my 30s and I'm just like, no, I kind of I need a nice bed and I need some downtime and
I get myself in trouble when I'm traveling because I'm cheap. Like I wanted to go to New York and I'm like, well, I'll just stay in Newark. It can't be that bad, can it? That was one of the most terrifying 24 hours of my life. Taking the bus back to Newark.
I mean, Newark's a solid city, but about all the factories over there, and that's got to be the first thing you notice when you go into Newark is you go and you smell all the factories.
I don't really know. I just stayed in a hotel just so I could go to New York City. All I know is the bus ride back and forth was terrifying.
Well, fair point.
Hey, you survived, so it's all good.
But speaking of buses, I guess going back to a question of where are some places that are good for like a day trip going out of Cleveland?
Well, there are lots of places you can go. I feel like my favorite would probably be just coming down to the national park, Cuyahoga Valley. It's the only national park in Ohio. It's free. So again, those who like to save money, there's lots of good hiking, or you can rent a bike and go on the towpath trail, and lots of things to do there. If you're looking for kind of non-outdoorsy things, well, I mean, we have Cedar Point that's not far away. Sandusky itself is a cool little city right on the lake.
And it's got the water parks too.
Yes, there are. Yeah, Sandusky has Kalahari,
Great Wolf
and
Lodge.
Yeah, that's all kind of
like
around
if you're not
there.
an outdoorsy person, you can even go to a water park in December in northern Ohio.
Yeah,
which is
totally
unbelievable.
Which is pretty cool. And then let's see, where else? There are always places like Akron or anything that's like within driving distance, not too far. Even Pittsburgh, you can get to Pittsburgh in 2 hours, or Columbus in 2 hours. Columbus makes a fun day trip.
I would recommend Niagara Falls. That's only about a 3-hour trip. I mean, that's a whole day, but
I don't know if I'd say that would be more like a weekend trip. I feel
that's fair.
Yeah, than like a day trip. But yes, and then there's like Amish country in Ohio, or south of Columbus, there's the Hocking Hills. So again, another outdoor spot that's really nice. And I think people often are surprised by how much there is to do in Ohio. Like it's not
just a meme where people just want to leave.
Right.
I'm surprised you didn't say Erie. Like we had that. Actually, this conversation came up a couple of episodes ago. I really love Erie.
Yeah,
have you been there?
mean, I have not spent a lot of time in the city of Erie.
Oh, okay. It's so small. I think people kind of overlook it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like now I'm thinking of like all these other places. Like there's even, wine resorty type of stuff, or the Lake Erie Islands, like going up to Put-in Bay or Kelly's Island. Like those are options that aren't far from Cleveland either. So
Right. Or
so much.
You could be like our friend and canoe up the lake and get to Canada.
Yeah.
You could do that.
We had a guest.
I mean, you could.
We had a friend and a guest who took a canoe from, was it Sandusky area?
I think so, yeah.
And then he just took it all the way to Canada.
Wow.
And apparently it was a pretty dangerous trip.
Yeah, I mean, they got burned.
Lake Erie is, it's big.
But also, they found the island in the middle of the lake in the middle of nowhere where it's a whole bunch of seagulls. And I'm like, I want to go to that little island.
He's obsessed with that island.
I am. I always like little isolated things in the middle of nowhere. Actually, that does lead me to an interesting question. So then what's like the most isolated place?
Of all of the things that Ariel talked about on that episode, you're just so
That
upset.
island of seagulls.
I'm fascinated by this most simplistic of things. As I say, as a tarot card, the Fool, that's definitely my card. Then talking about what's some of the most isolated places that you've traveled to?
Well, I've been to Greenland, which I think I mentioned before. I went to this little town on the west coast of Greenland that's above the Arctic Circle called Ilulissat. And it's a town of 5,000 people. There are no roads in or out of the town. Actually, none of Greenland's cities are connected by road. You have to either fly or go by boat. And yeah, so that was pretty isolated. And we did some day trips to there, to even smaller villages and out to some glaciers and things like that. So.
Right.
And then I've also I've traveled a bit in like southern Africa. So of course there are some, little villages and that sort of thing, or Eastern Africa.
Right.
Last summer I was in like Kenya and Tanzania. So there are plenty of places there that are pretty isolated. But then even just in the US, like you go out west, or you go like to Montana or the Dakotas or parts of like New Mexico and things like that.
Right.
And you can drive for hours and just not see anything.
That's so true.
I kind of feel like you are like this big selling point for Cleveland, because you've gone to all these places and yet you still love.
Right.
I do love Cleveland, and I know several of the people who work at like Destination Cleveland, the tourism board and stuff, and I tell them all the time, like I'm basically just an unpaid employee at this point, because I tell everybody come to Cleveland.
We should be on a tourism board. We should get paid by some tourism place.
I do not get paid by the Cleveland Tourism Board. But I feel like at this point I should be.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We talked about the skyscrapers, for God's sake. We should definitely get paid.
Oh, no.
But yeah, and I mean, I think part of it is just because like I did grow up around here, but also, yeah, I mean, Cleveland has a lot to offer, and I also really like history, and Cleveland has a super interesting history, and I'm always a fan of the kind of like overlooked and underrated places of the world. So,
Sure, yeah.
Cleveland definitely fits in there.
Is there anything else that people should know when visiting Cleveland or people living here?
I mean, it's more than our sports teams.
Yes.
And that there's also more to do here than just the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which
I really believe like sports are probably one of the least interesting things that are happening here, which is weird because it's known for sports.
Right. We're known for sports, but like beyond sports, like for example, Cleveland has the second largest performing arts center outside of New York City in the U.S.
Right.
So Playhouse Square, huge. The Cleveland Orchestra is one of the big 5 orchestras in the U.S., also huge. Then we've got like all the great museums, and we're right on the lake, and we have all these really good restaurants and celebrity chefs, and
Like Michael Simon.
And
who's also obsessed with meat.
he loves his bacon.
Bacon and steak.
My husband and I saw him on an episode of, I don't know if it was Chopped or it was one of those like Food Network competition shows, and he was like just waxing poetic about bacon, and we always quote that episode. It's funny.
You're over the top when you're reciting haiku for bacon. And it's kind of interesting.
What would a good haiku for bacon be?
Bacon so crispy, it melts in your mouth.
Wait, no, that's too many.
Oh wait, how's it go?
575.
575.
So bacon, it's crispy, works for the first 5.
So crispy.
Cheating.
Well, not cheating.
Have you heard of Times Newer Roman?
Times Newer Roman.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for reports, like, and you have to fill out a specific, like 5 pages or whatever.
Oh, is this like with making the periods bigger?
It's slightly wider than Times New Roman.
Oh wow, that's interesting. I've never cheated on my papers because I always go over.
Yeah,
all professors go, that's too long.
This is for the lazy students. Times Newer Roman.
Yeah, right. I never did that because I go, well, then what about this line you never thought about, or this consideration? It's like everyone says, well, your papers are good, but they're always so long to read.
I think I heard about that in another local podcast called Knick Knack News.
There we go. Shout out to Knick Knack News and Times Newer Roman. So for all of our graduate students and editors out there, Times Newer Roman is the way to go.
Yeah.
I guess so.
One of the first things when I moved here is I realized that Cleveland's not just the city of Cleveland. It's all these other nooks and crannies.
Right.
All these little neighborhoods. What are some of your favorite like little sub-neighborhoods within the city?
So, yeah, there are a lot. I think probably the most popular, now if we're talking about like people who are visiting Cleveland, the places I would tell them to go would be places like Ohio City, because again, like we mentioned, they have a lot of the breweries and the food, and also the West Side Market, which again, very historical and significant. Then I would also recommend Gordon Square, the Gordon Square Arts District, which has kind of gone through a revitalization over the last few years, has a lot of really good street art and food and just some cool stuff. There's Brunettes is in Gordon Square, which is like a bar / donut shop, which is great. Happy Dog is in Gordon Square, which is kind of a Cleveland institution. And then after that, like the University Circle neighborhood, which is where all the museums are, but also Little Italy is near there. So lots of good Italian restaurants and bakeries and that sort of thing. And oh my gosh, there's so many. And Tremont is another kind of fun one for food, if you like food, and also art in Tremont. Yeah, those would probably be my top ones for like visitors to Cleveland. But then for people living here, I mean, we have tons of good neighborhoods that are good for like a night out. Like, in East Cleveland, you've got like Cleveland Heights and the like Lee Road district, where there are lots of international restaurants and like the Cedar Lee Theater and stuff like that. So there's lots of fun places.
It's actually, you brought up something that made me think of a question that, instead of wrapping up, now I got this new question. On your blog, you talk about street art. Or you say that you have that you love it.
Yeah.
So then you brought up Tremont, which is that kind of like more of a street art type of neighborhood?
No, Tremont has a lot more like gallery type things, and they used to have like a monthly art walk, which I think has morphed a little bit and is more just kind of a local businesses stay open late, like one Friday of the month or something like that. But But no, I mean Cleveland has a growing like street art scene, which is interesting too. I have always been interested in street art because it has this like interesting evolution where it went from being illegal in most places,
right,
where it was always a form of kind of rebellion and expression, and often like political in nature or used by like marginalized communities to express certain messages and things like that. And now you actually have businesses and communities that pay artists to come in and paint these beautiful murals to brighten up neighborhoods and try and bring people in. And I think a lot of that is just due to the fact that our society has become so visual with you know, social media and Instagram and things like that. But it can do a lot to kind of help neighborhoods that might be struggling to add something of interest. So there are several like parts of Cleveland that have in the last couple of years done some really cool initiatives where they bring in international artists and things like that to paint a bunch of new murals over a couple months. So yeah, I do have a whole guide to Cleveland street art on Cleveland Traveler. So if you want to check that out. It's got a map with some of my favorite murals marked on it. So.
How do people find you?
My main blog is called A Dangerous Business. It's just dangerous-business.com. And then Cleveland Traveler is just clevelandtraveler.com. And then you can find all my socials from there.
Like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. It's not like I didn't read that.
Well, I'm just at Dangerous Biz with a Z on everything. And then Cleveland Traveler has a couple different ones because of length of usernames. So those are all linked on the site.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And talking about travel and all those lovely things. And again, shout out to Bangalore, Cleveland's most unlikely sister city.
We're so lucky to have so many great guests.
Indeed.
Make us look smart.
Yeah, because we by ourselves, we're doomed. We're just too incompetent at this point.
Well, thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Later.